In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emmanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today, we're going to delve a little bit into the HR side of things and understand how AI is supporting the development and sourcing of human capital correctly. And my guest today is Scott Morris, and he has over 20 years as a Chief People Officer, and he's honed a deep understanding of workplace dynamics. Oh boy, that's its own separate book we're going to need to dig into. Now at the helm of Propulsion AI, he's channeling the expertise into redefining the essence of fit in the workplace. Think of Propulsion as eHarmony for work, creating genuine engagement and real results. Welcome to the show, Scott. And boy, the soap opera that you could write, if so funded, would be impressive.
Let me tell you something. This is part why I love the profession. I've been in people ops for 25 years, and like you said in your intro, I've got 20 of those in a C-level role. I started out, I was a police officer for the city of Los Angeles.
Oh wow!
And you know what? One of the lessons that I took out of that I think is applied across my entire career is that you could have four people standing on four separate corners of the exact same intersection at the exact same time, watching the exact same accident, and they're going to have four different perspectives about what happened and why it happened.
Right.
That's so similar to how organizations, how the dynamic works in an organization. Perception matters a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, your which piece of the elephant you have in your hand at the time, right?
Determines a lot of what you do. Yeah, for sure.
Well, it's good. I really appreciate you spending some time with me today to talk about propulsion and about AI and about humans and how to get the best humans into an organization.
Well, I appreciate the invite. As you know, I'm a big fan of yours, and as a founder, and I'll tell you what, like when you work for a company, you get this luxury of like, oh, our marketing team, they're horrible. And then you get out and you start doing it on your own. Like, oh my God, marketing's hard, and it's like all of the little tips and tricks and things that, that you've got to learn to be really successful. So I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, you bet. I think that's the interesting thing about marketing too, is that it just seems to get more and more complicated every day. So but I'm interested to know because, I'm one of those guys that if we have a role on our team, I'm going to go and pull a job description. Maybe I give it a look. Maybe I update it. Maybe I just send it to my assistant and say, let's get some people fill in this pipeline and get somebody hired by the end of the week. So what is it that you're doing at Propulsion that obviously makes that kind of a 1920s style process more into the 2020 style?
Well, here, let me make it okay for you, like to begin with, because Emmanuel, you're just like in that description, you're just like a lot of us, right?
Yeah.
We're not, none of us are really operating differently from that. But you got to think about if I ask you as a leader, and if I ask most leaders, what do you want overall, when you think about the person that's going to fill this role, and even irrespective of what the role is, if I were to ask, what do you want? Most leaders would tell me, I want somebody that's going to take initiative. I want somebody that's going to be accountable as an employee. I want somebody who's going to own the work of that role. And you know what? And those are reasonable requests. But the ways that we start out thinking about the role are going to determine a lot of that success. So we'll get to propulsion in a second. I know you've got questions about that and kind of what we're doing to solve some of these problems, but let me just level set right now that for most organizations, one of the things that managers don't do well is design roles. And when I say design a role, I mean really being thoughtful about how does that role fit into your organizational strategy? What are the outcomes that you need a person to produce? That is different, by the way, than tasks. I'll come back to that in a second.
Right.
How are you going to measure success? What kind of competencies? What kind of skills do you need? That's the design of the role. And most of us are really bad at getting those details out of our heads and into something useful. And even for those of us who can get the stuff out of our head, the first place we usually run is tasks. And you know what? That works to the exact opposite of what we want. Initiative, accountability, ownership. When I start to detail out, I want you to do this task, and you got to get this fire off my desk. How excited is that person? But by contrast, if I say my thought process is, look, I'm hiring you because I need somebody to generate outcomes for this business. And those things are meaningful to this organization. And here is the subset of things that I want you, the outcomes that I want you to be accountable for as an owner. That's a completely different context. You know what? Salary is an investment. Those outcomes are the return on the investment. And it doesn't matter how much effort people are putting in if they're not achieving the outcomes. That's why I say that stepping off point makes all the difference in the world. So if you are copying and pasting, or if you're doing something like using ChatGPT for this, which is just, by the way, a faster cut and paste from the web, stop doing that.
Yeah, that's just like an accumulation of a lot of bad practices all into one document, right?
Regrettably. And you know what? And one of the things we do is we think that the job description is the same as what we put out on the web. When you think about it, and I think this should resonate with the audience of marketers, right? The job description is the substance. What we post to the web is marketing copy designed to scare off the wrong people and attract in top talent.
Yeah,
and they're different.
For sure. Yeah. Well, that's cool. So what was kind of the secret sauce that you baked in to the algorithm inside of the software?
Well, you know what? It's the words that I'm using, they're easy words to use, but in practice, it's hard. And in part, because it takes a long time. Our customers are telling us that their recruiters, if they were to truly help a manager design a role the right way, pull all of the details out of them, document those details, come back, vet it, go away, write a posting, get it out on the web. They're telling us 4 to 6 hours of effort. Here, let me cut right to the bottom line. We built a platform that has a digital human. She is an intelligent bot, and she executes that process not in 4 to 6 hours, but in as little as 15 minutes. Now, the principal value that she creates, and so that I can refer to her by her proper name, her name is Athena.
Okay.
And the principal value that she delivers is that she helps the user get clarity. She provokes their thinking, she catalyzes their ideas, and she helps draw those ideas out of the user the same way that they would if they were sitting with an HR business partner or a senior recruiter. So you've got an expert guiding you along the way. But Athena has superpowers that we as humans don't have. The first of them is that she can work in parallel. So as she's interviewing me about this role, and that's effectively what she does, she asks me questions, I give her answers, she makes recommendations and has hypotheses. I give her feedback about those. She rewrites content and we move on, and everything builds one on the next. And so as she's doing that, though, because she's digital, she can do multiple things at once. And so in the course of the interview, she's also writing a performance-based job description that is outcomes oriented, that has customized key performance indicators or KPIs. And she helps turn those KPIs into key results, measurable first year targets that I, as the boss, need achieved. She's going to make recommendations about skills and about competencies. She's going to analyze the range that I want to use for my base salary and help me to understand whether, given the geography, the skills, and the responsibilities, it is an equitable range, or whether I need to maybe adjust my thinking. So she is effectively a digital partner available when and where you want to work, working in a way that is really, really similar to the way that a human partner would work. But here's the added benefit, is that when she takes on that burden, we create bandwidth for the HR team or the talent team, if you have one. And if you don't have one, you just created effectively another member of your team without having to hire.
Well, all that wisdom wrapped into one piece of software. Is there a way that I could use this to go back and kind of like rehab my job descriptions and then have those meetings with my team and update existing staff?
That's a roadmap item for us, and it's really, really near term. And here's how we envision that playing out is that you may have a legacy job description. In fact, at some point, you probably wrote something, and let's put aside judgments about whether it's good, bad, effective, or whatever. You had some document. And now that position goes vacant, and that was the last time that you thought about, I need a document, right? So the functionality that we will push in the near term is we'll let you upload that document. She will parse it out and do a couple of things for you. One is she'll just rewrite it. She'll give you a better version of what you have. We don't think that's sufficient, but we recognize that we don't get to make those calls. You're the business owner. You are, the manager in that spot. You get to make that call. And so she'll just rewrite it. What we think is more effective, though, is she will learn from that document what it is that you're trying to achieve and utilize that learning as she helps you craft. Again, this is not ChatGPT. You have to lead ChatGPT. It does not scale to enterprise. You have to know how to ask it for things. This platform leads you, and that's what the real value is. Whether you have to be cautious saying this, because there are a lot of legal reasons that you want to have a job description in place. But I will tell you, and I'm being a little cheeky with this, forget the job description. Who cares?
Right.
What's really important is, do you as a manager truly understand that role and how it connects to to driving your organization forward? If you have that, I say, who cares about the piece of paper? It's a nice to have. Yeah. But the understanding and the recognition of how that role is integral to your organization, that's a real value. And that's one of the principal things that we deliver at Propulsion AI.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's amazing. Well, how long did it take you to develop it into beta?
Longer than it should, because I'm a first-time founder and I'm a non-technical guy. And I think I think you and I talked about this before. When I was in a chief people officer role, I mean, for 20 years, I was a buyer of HR software. Yeah. And none of it seemed to really solve the root cause problem. I'm going to give an example. You always get in trouble when you give examples that are specific, but Workday sells so much in a year. And yet, and I'm sure they are the supporters of Workday are hiding out someplace, but I've never met anybody who likes Workday.
Right.
And here they are, they're this behemoth company, right?
Just like Salesforce. Same thing with Salesforce.
Right, because they're enabling workflow. Yeah. They're not solving root cause problems. We put together over 100 chief people officers, heads of talent, recruiters, HR business partners. Nice. We learned the frameworks. We learned where all the rocks were, the things that cause humans problem. And we built the frameworks around those ideas. And then we injected that with artificial intelligence so that it was at the core and not slapped on the outside.
Wow, that's genius. Genius to go to the market, learn something, and then build a product for it.
Hey, you think? Even from a first-time founder.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I got a part of it right. But
plus then you have your initial 100-person prospect list.
There you go.
You have a product, right?
For sure. I used to think I knew a lot about everything, and the process of being a founder, especially in the artificial intelligence space, has convinced me that I know almost nothing about close to everything.
Well, that's a very humble space to occupy. And I'm with you 100% because it's so dynamic, and every day I'm meeting people who are way more versed in a lot of stuff that I don't know anything about. So.
Well, we're all racing to catch up, I think, right?
I've kind of reached that spot where I'm like, I'm not even racing to catch up anymore. I'm just like, it's moving faster than I can keep up. I'm going to continue to get focused on the things that are super valuable, right? And be about three steps ahead of my clients, and then stay in touch with what's on the bleeding edge, but. It's
but you know what? It's getting to where you don't have to. And there are the tools, the base tools, like the large language models are getting better. Anthropic is about to drop a new one. Well, they're all about to drop new ones, right? Yeah. We want those tools to get better. But I can go down, by way of analogy, I could go down to Home Depot and I can buy the very best hammer.
Yeah.
That is not going to build me a house just because
Right.
I have a great tool, right? And I think that's the same thing here. What you want is you need the craftsman's skill, and we've built that into Propulsion AI the same way that a contractor has that built in, right? In the physical sense.
That's cool. And then did you leverage an existing LLM, or did you commission one yourself, or how did you build that?
Yeah, we're not quite to the point where we are standing up our own. That's massively expensive. So
Sure.
we are utilizing. We actually use multiple models, and we have failovers. So that way, if something happens with one of them, we don't go down. We just flip models and we go, and then we fine tune parameters on top of that. And this is functionality that's getting better in some of the generic LLMs, is that their ability to allow for fine tuning and to create projects and those kinds of things is getting better. So we build on top of that. But what that gives us is the ability to take the knowledge set that comes with having advanced HR, people ops, recruiting professionals, but to build it into the product and to get really, really super consistent, super impactful work product out of it.
Yeah. And then what about with security and data protection, as far as if I'm putting all my open roles into Propulsion, what happens to it, and how do I keep that safe?
Yeah, that's a great question. And there are very low concerns around this product with information security just because of the type of information. A lot of people don't realize it. If you have Workday, all of your jobs are out there. Every detail you put into a job is out there. If you have Greenhouse, same kind of thing. If you have Namely, same kind of thing, right? And not only that, publicly available. So the information is not confidential. It's largely what you're putting out on the web. What we're helping you to do is really think through the impact between what you envision as driving the organization forward and how you would turn that into a role. Now, here's where we will have a problem that we're going to need to solve, because as a company, Propulsion AI is not just about this process of role design. We have a vision that is much broader than that, that if you don't have a good role design, it's really hard to have anything else good. And by the way, whether you use our product or whether you're doing it by hand, the same thing is true. You've got to understand the design of the role. But then once you do, you open up a bunch of doors to faster sourcing, faster screening, better interviewers, ultimately better selection, better talent management, better learning and development, better performance management, all because you have an objective standard that you're measuring to. The next piece that we'll tackle as we grow as a company is that selection piece. It's taking that objective standard and being able to very quickly transition it. Because here's the reality. When I post a role, especially if I have a really compelling marketing statement about that role, the likelihood of me having 1,200 candidates in a couple of days is really, really high. A human recruiter can't digest 1,200 candidates. But what's worse, there are diamonds in the rough.
Right.
There are people that should be heard that aren't. And so as we grow and evolve, the next stage that we are going to, and we have a very novel way of applying this artificial intelligence to this problem. But the next thing we will tackle is how can we screen 1,200 candidates in a meaningful way with low levels of bias in days.
I love it. Yeah, I mean, I could picture how I'd like to do that. I'd like to first go through and scan all their social media profiles.
There's a lot to be learned.
And add some ranking based on that. Yeah. Well, that's cool. So you'll be able to take, which is the perfect application for AI, to take giant pieces of data and then compile it down into a natural list. Right.
100% right. Yeah. But again, you have to start like the spec that comes out of it is not as important as the clarity that the manager has, because if I as a recruiter, if I put top tier talent in front of you and you've truly thought through the fit to strategy, the outcomes, the measures, the competencies, you're going to talk to those top tier individuals differently, regardless of how you've documented it, and you become a talent magnet. And that's what we're trying to create, is managers who attract talent by virtue of their connection to meaningful work.
And then what has been your best marketing activity for selling this into the HR people?
I got to tell you, I mean, I think it's self-serving, but I think the most has come out of opportunities just like this to be able to talk about the product. Yeah. We're still learning and we're experimenting, and you know better than I do that you don't just go to market with one thing. You go to market with a hypothesis about how you're going to drive traffic, and then you tune and adjust those messages. You A/B test, and we're still doing that. We launched commercially available product in November of last year. I know what you're going to say. Genius move, trying to release a product around Thanksgiving Q4.
Yeah. Well, you got some data, but maybe not full data at that point.
I had wanted to do. I mean, if I was more experienced, we would have done it 6 months earlier. But we were learning.
Now, product development. God bless you for developing a product, because until you've done it once or 10 times, you never know how absolutely brutal it is. And the fact you got it to market at all is a testament to your own capacity for perseverance.
It is so gratifying, Emmanuel. And I mean, you've forgotten more about these things than I'm ever going to learn probably, but it's so gratifying to bring a product forward and then to see the reaction from customers who actually use it. We have rave reviews. You can see some of them on the website, but it's just, even if those weren't there, it's gratifying to listen to people talk about the product, the way it's saving them time, the way it's really helping them to be more thoughtful about their talent and performance management.
Yeah, I love it. Well, congratulations on getting it out there. And I think you've got a great product and a good roadmap. And I know you'll be successful, even if it is a bit painful on some days.
Well, almost every day.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I appreciate your time. How do people get in touch with you if they want to have a conversation, Scott?
Yeah, thank you for that. So LinkedIn, and I'm happy, by the way, I'm not a consultant. I don't sell consulting services, but I'm happy to help people out. If they have questions about role design, if they want some advice, I'm happy to give it. Best way to connect with me personally, LinkedIn, linkedin.com/n/m_Scott_M. That's my LinkedIn profile. And then if you want to find Propulsion AI on the web, it's https://getpropulsion.ai.
All right. And you did not misspell anything, so we know you've done that a few times.
And I know all the letters now. So.
I'm usually the guy that misspells my own email address. So nice work. I really do appreciate your time. Thanks for telling me about what you're doing, and all the best of luck to you.
Great to be here with you. Thank you for the invite.
All right. Thanks, Scott.
See you, Emmanuel.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emmanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you